This is Goals with Soul, the podcast for visionary coaches and entrepreneurs, building your business with inspired action. In alignment with your mission and authentic message, so you can create impact for your soul clients and feel lit up every day. I'm your host, Jo Ingram, married mum of 3 daughters from London and a former ad agency director turned business coach and strategist. In Goals with Soul, we blend revenue generation with energetics, marketing strategies with pranic healing, and ambitious business goals with our soul's desires. If you're looking to build your business with less efforting and more ease, this is the podcast for you. Let's dive in. Welcome to Goals with Soul. I'm Jo Ingram, and you're on a morning walk with me while I ponder about motherhood. In celebration of Mother's Day, at least in North America, because here in the UK, we actually celebrate Mother's Day in March. So this is a great excuse for me to not only celebrate Mother's Day twice, but to really think about the things that matter, the things that I too often glance over, and perhaps you do too, when it comes to being a daughter and also to being a mum. And a lot of things as I've become an entrepreneur and particularly a coach, we have to dive into the things that are stopping us and our blocks, things that we never really thought too much about before. Things like our money mindsets, things like how we approach being busy. And more I have understood that I have taken on so much of my mother's habits. You know, I remember when I was in my 20s and we used to say, oh, I'll never be like my mum. And then you become a mum yourself and you grow into midlife. I'm in my late 40s now. And I realize I'm so much like my mum. And to a great extent, I'm proud of that. But there are also things that, through no fault of her own, she has gifted me in such a way that they create limits in my life. And one such thing is busy work. Now, I don't know if this resonates with you, but it's been a massive part of my journey. And if it is you, you're gonna get this. This idea that you're not really contributing, you're not really worthy unless you're super busy all the time. And I've always been like this. And I used to be proud. You know, I've been doing a bit of work recently about understanding soul clients better. It's something I'm teaching in my Time to Rise program and with my private clients about really getting under the skin of what's going on for your soul clients. And something that is so true. So often the things that they brag about are the very mistakes that you have the skills to fix so they can get the results that they need and that they want. And a good example for me here is I used to brag about how busy I was. You know, someone would say, oh, how you doing, Jo? And I'd be like, oh, I'm very, very busy. Oh, are you, Jo? Oh, yeah, I'm super busy. In fact, I must be busier than anybody else on the planet right now. And here's a whole list of all the things that I'm busy doing. It was like I felt worthy because I was super busy. And I brought that into my business and started doing all of the things and being super, super busy. And if you've been listening to what I've been chatting about over the last year or so, you would know that I burned out last year, burned out in a big way. And I was like, this cannot be the way. And that's when I started easing into the spirituality of business and understanding about ease. And then I went on to start teaching about it because it had such a monumental effect in my life and my business when I allowed the efforting to transmute into finding simplicity and ease whenever possible and not shaming myself for taking a break. Like one of my favorite things is to have a bath in the middle of the day. It sounds so simple, but back in corporate, I mean, that would have been an untold luxury. More than that, it would have been something I would have looked down on in others. Well, they've got time to do that. Well, they clearly aren't busy enough. They can't be achieving. And of course, now my belief's the opposite. I'm certainly not bragging or proud of being super busy. And I actually teach and preach the opposite about finding spaciousness and expansiveness in your working day. And so back to my mum. Where did this come from? And I remember back to my childhood. We lived in a scarcity household. There, you know, we had enough. We were certainly not on the breadline, but my parents had to work hard for their money. Both my parents worked 2 or 3 jobs at all times in my childhood. My mum particularly had an office job, and then she used to do home typing in the evening with her little headphones in, you know, typing away, listening into dictation. And she also had a cake making business. This before the time when you could buy really beautiful cakes so cheaply in Costco and stuff. She used to make bar mitzvah, wedding and birthday cakes, and she would be doing all that on the weekends. My dad also worked for local government and was a photographer on the weekends. Like, we were a busy household, and I watched my parents parents have very limited hobbies, if any, and basically all of their time was consumed with work in order to earn the money because it didn't grow on trees. And I know this is so common. And I hadn't really realized how much it affected me and how I'd grown into these habits because I wanted to be like my mum. And now I have to ease out of that constantly. It's an ongoing thing. It's not like, oh, I did the work and now I'm fixed. It's like, no, I constantly do the work and I meditate. And right now I'm walking in the woods. I'm prioritizing what's most important rather than just doing what I think I have to do. And if you've just thought, Joe, you are recording a podcast episode while you're walking. This is like therapy for me. I'm loving every moment of recording this because one thing I love about podcasting is that I can talk from the heart. I feel like I'm talking to my best friend, and that's who you are. This is my chance to not only talk about things that are important to me, but talk about things that affect us people, us mums, us coaches, and to really relate in a human way. And it's actually a pleasure and a joy. I feel really lit up and energized by doing this. And sharing the stuff about my mum and wondering what's the deal with you and your mum? How did her relationship with you as you were growing up affect how you run your business particularly? And it's all down to that self-worth piece about how we actually value ourselves and what messages we got. And I really want to celebrate my mum for giving me the work ethic that has actually allowed me to take monumental action in my business. And I love the fact that there's light and shade in all of the gifts that we get. And there's chances to celebrate. And then there's ample opportunity to really dive into the shadow work, the flip side of the gift, and to work on ourselves. And, we're adults now. And whatever the poem by Philip Larkin said about your parents, they fuck you up. It's like they might have given us some things that make it more challenging, but it's our responsibility now as grown women to decide how we want to live, to make those choices and to do the work and get the support we need to really move into what are our greatest dreams and ambitions. And one of my biggest ambitions was to be a mum. And in fact, I had my eldest daughter when I was 29 and I really wanted a baby so badly. I really wanted a daughter, and my baby Kitty, she was born 18 years ago now. And it was so joyful to be having a baby, and I had all this idea about how she would come into the world and what my birth story would be like. And the absolute worst happened. Well, not the absolute, but it was pretty dramatic. When I gave birth to Kitty, I bled out really dramatically, called postpartum hemorrhage, and had a hysterectomy to save my life on the day she was born. I ended up spending 2 weeks in intensive care and went on to have PTSD after that. And becoming a mum wasn't that beautiful time that I imagined. It was actually full and fraught with stress and all the drama of what had been a very dramatic and upsetting experience for me. And I'd had to come through that. And there's a lot more to that story. But the piece I really want to pull out today is the fact that I wanted more children. I wanted to be a mum to more than one. I wanted a larger family. I've got 2 sisters and I really wanted Kitty to have siblings too. And I went on a quest that took 7 years. 7 years after Kitty was born, pretty much to the day, well, actually 10 days apart, my twin daughters were born with the help of a beautiful, amazing surrogate in California. And I'd gone through this process of not having the resources, not having the knowledge, not having the money to go from that point to actually bringing them into the world was a feat of the most incredible manifestation that I could ever imagine. And I draw on that invincibility, that feeling of power, that feeling of creation that I can now bring into my business and all the things that I still want to achieve. And once you know that you can make the impossible possible, and you've done it in some way, and we've all done it. We've all done it in ways in our lives that have brought us to this point, looking around at your home, at your community, your family, your business, your health, and be so grateful that you have created that. But I think that to some degree, I didn't look past that bit, the family creation. And at that point, I was like, ta-da, I've done it. Like, life should be perfect now. And of course, life is never perfection. Life never quite lives up to the picture perfect idea that you might have in mind. But that's perfect in itself. It's about us relaxing into it, allowing, surrendering. And boy, my parenting journey was one of surrender and still is daily. My beautiful twins are now 11 years old, and Kitty will be off to university this year. And I have to say that me and my husband are so dedicated to getting it right because we so rarely feel that we do. My girls, they're so spirited, right? They are amazing kids. They have got so much passion, so much liveliness. But quite often we have this friction between us because they pull this way and I pull that way. And I have to do a lot of work to remind myself that they have this freedom and this way of thinking that is about a new generation. They are true like indigo children who are open to all this new stuff, the stuff that I learned in adulthood. And I'm really privileged to be able to share my journey with them now and watch them grow and learn and develop their own ways and their own beliefs. Being a mum who's also growing a business has its own challenges. And I'm so grateful that I had that burnout session last year because it's really taught me to balance so much better. There isn't any medals for getting past any perceived goals in a big hurry. And certainly not if we're going to undermine family time and family meals and just doing the things that are our whole reason for wanting to build our businesses. I know that when I went into building my business and coming out of corporate, the first thing on my mind is I want to spend more quality time with my kids. I want to be flexible. And at first, I created an inflexibility mind business. I made it almost impossible for me to relax. I was working through meal times even and late into the evenings. And although building a business does require a certain amount of time commitment, doesn't have to be all-consuming. And that's something that more and more now I'm building into my life and prioritizing the family time, prioritizing the time to do my self-development. And I know that it's meant such a big difference to me. And as you lean into your own authenticity, actually being the person that you want your clients to be, the person that you set out to be, once you start being that, everything else gets easier. It gets easier as a mom, it gets easier as a coach and a business owner, and it gets easier in pretty much every part of your life. And so just to wish you a beautiful Mother's Day, whether or not you're listening to this on Mother's Day or perhaps around the time of Mother's Day or perhaps weeks later, I just want to send you my love and say you got this, you are enough. Step into your dreams and live your authenticity. Have an inspired action week. Take care. Bye now.